The market's making big moves, though, today, not necessarily in the direction that the debate leaders would like to see, at least the debate participants in Milwaukee. Very little has been asked of the 2016 candidates about, how would you handle the economy? What would you do? And keeping in mind, you have to work with Congress. Can't just make these bold statements and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You have to govern. You have to know how to lead. Tomorrow, as Wall Street watches as well, what are they looking for in a presidential candidate? Joining me now is a guy who can perhaps give both Main Street and Wall Street, because he used to be former UBS America's chairman and CEO, Joe Grano, but now he runs a business of his own, Route 9B, of which he is the chairman and CEO. Joe, welcome, and thank you for joining us. And right off the bat, you do give that both smaller business and large business perspective. What's the number one thing you need to hear from these candidates?
I think you hit on it, Liz. It's leadership. I mean, we have a divided Congress and an increasingly divided nation in terms of society and racial profiling. I think we need a leader that can coalesce this country.
And what do you need to hear in terms of that? Because it's a very broad statement to say leadership, show me leadership. Well, people can bloviate and they can scream and yell and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. We've seen a couple of these candidates do that. But you need to see real texture and granularity about how they do it.
Well, first of all, that's pretty difficult to display with a 7-minute debate. I think you need more granularity, like you suggest. But I think the next president of the United States, or whoever it's going to be, has to show our nation that he or she is client-centric and solution-based. Be honest with the American people. Talk about the problems facing us, which are very serious right now, and show us what solutions you're going to put on the table. Not political rhetoric, actual solutions.
Listen, now Wall Street would love to see the corporate rate tax come down or the individual rate come down. Almost every single one of these GOP candidates is either floating a flat tax or dropping the individual rate from what is now 39% to anywhere from 20 to 25%. Is that enough of a solution?
Well, I do think that there is a wealth gap, and it's it's not just perceived, because anyone long assets with zero interest rates had a shot of adrenaline with net present values. I'm an advocate of a increase in the minimum wage of, let's say, to $10 and 50 cents a year until we get to 15. But it's simultaneous to that. We should drop the corporate tax rate from 36 to 30, so sole proprietorships, entrepreneurs can afford the increased labor costs. I think it's a shot of adrenaline on both sides of the body.
Isn't that interesting? Because you're now at 30% for corporate tax rates versus 35. A lot of these guys are saying cut it down to 25%. We've heard Warren Buffett on this network say, corporations can do just fine at 30% or perhaps even higher. But you talk about the minimum wage. I want to bring in Charlie Gasparino, too. Charlie, Rick Santorum is one of the few candidates on the GOP side who says raise it a little bit, because constantly everyone's talking about the business owners and not enough of the GOP candidates, he would say, are talking about the workers themselves. It's an interesting point, Charlie.
Yeah, I would say this. I'm here in Milwaukee, where they're going to be doing the debate tomorrow. I bet you there's not a single GOP candidate that embraces raising the minimum wage. I will say this. The economics, when you get away from the class warfare rhetoric, which, that does work, the economics is pretty simple. Jobs go down when you raise the minimum wage in those sectors. People actually end up not doing as well overall. So I would just say this, that raising the minimum wage right now, a government raising it, not the fact that businesses might be raising it, is not going to pass with a Republican president, and certainly not going to pass a Republican Congress, which you're probably going to have a Republican Congress. You might have a Republican president.
And Charlie, these candidates really have to be careful about speaking too much to Wall Street versus, giving Main Street a nod or two, correct?
Listen, let's face it, the grassroots Republicans, are almost as much anti-Wall Street as the socialists that are in the Democratic Party, running the Democratic Party. But I will say this, and Joe Grano is there. Tomorrow is going to be a big day for the establishment, because here's the thing. The establishment has money. It controls about 20% of the electorate, Republican electorate, but it's where a lot of the money is. It's 40 blocks in Manhattan. It's places like Texas. That's where establishment money goes. And I'll tell you, the word I hear, particularly from people that are in the Rubio camp and or in the middle, they don't know exactly where to go. If Rubio has a good debate tomorrow, that money is going to start shifting, and that support is going to start shifting to him.
Joe?
Where he will be the alone establishment candidate, and I think it's going to be hard for Jeb and Chris Christie to fight that.
Joe, is Rubio the guy? Is he alive? Is he the one?
Look, I think it's important that the Republican Party can carry Florida as well as Ohio. And I would tell you the 3 governors, including Chris Christie, are the only 3 candidates up there that can point to some well-deserved kudos in terms of a job well done, in my opinion.
Yeah, but Joe, they're getting like no. I mean, you see the polls.
I understand.
It's they can't break through. The only one that's kind of broken through is Rubio, and and I think this is where it becomes interesting. Odds are, if they don't do well tomorrow, odds will be that Jeb Bush and
remember,
Christie
Charlie,
drop out.
timing is important. November. What we see in November doesn't necessarily herald or town cry for what we see in February.
Well, that's where but it's all the money. The money is basing it on these debates. I will say that
Christie's going to surprise you in New Hampshire, I think.
Yeah, well,
okay.
he has certainly surprised a lot of people, Joe. I think you're right on that front. We shall see. And he has been the only one who says, just give me the podium. I'll get out there. You tell me the time. I am there. And he has governed. It's good to see both of you. Charlie, you look great out there, Mr. Gasparino. Very nice. And so do you, Joe. It's a pleasure to have you from both perspectives here. Joe Grano, former UBS chairman.